Welcome you to the second talk of the day at Zero Waste Festival Ireland in the Science Gallery. We have a great speaker for you now, Celia Somlai, and I know I've just mispronounced that name as well, who is a Hungarian scientist who's been living in Dublin for the last 4 years and has doing great work on packaging research in UCD. She's also helped co-found Precious Plastic, a great community-led group that is trying to come up with practical solutions to deal with the plastic crisis, which we're all unfortunately so painfully aware of. Just like to draw your attention to the fire exits, the doors you came into on the back, and on here to my right, to your left-hand side. There's no fire alarms planned for the day, so hopefully they won't be going off. If they do go to the exits. Please turn off your phones as well and enjoy the talk. Gurmail Magad, Gwyf.
Hi everyone. I'm waiting for my presentation. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. When I decided to give this talk, nobody was mentioning about the live streaming and with this whole high-tech and things. So if I'm a little bit shy or unsure, that's the reason for that. But I try to do my best. So precious plastic, question mark, exclamation mark, on purpose. Facts and figures on global plastic abundance and what we can do about it. So I like to go to presentations when at first the speaker introduces himself, and because in that case you know how the person connects to the topic. So let me take you a little bit of how I ended up in this stage. Small things, what Brian was mentioning, but let me talk a little bit longer on that. Where should I point? Go. Yeah. So it was 2015 when I moved to Ireland. Brian already mentioned, so I don't have to mention that I'm Hungarian. I wanted to give it in my talk, like I know Irish people are always curious about, but they never ask. Yeah, I'm Hungarian. But I have been living in Europe, in Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands in my early adult life. I moved here to do a PhD. I'm an environmental engineer. I did the PhD on measuring greenhouse gas emission from wastewater, so it was something totally different. As a good environmental engineer, I believe that I'm doing the best things for the environment as I can. I did not litter, I recycled, I closed the water tap when I was washing my teeth, and I believe that I'm awesome. But then after, in 2017, I got an eco-epiphany. I just learned this expression yesterday from amazing speaker, Una Fitzgerald, who set up the first green lab in Europe. For me, it was plastic. Plastic is everywhere. We cannot deal with it. Soon I learned about the expression zero waste. I guess we all know about zero waste because we are here. And I joined a Facebook group, the Zero Waste Island, when someone, Ida, was giving the previous talk. She was looking for some volunteers to set up the first Zero Waste Festival. I assumed that I will volunteer, just like pushing tables and helping on the day, but I ended up to be one of the main organizers. Just to mention, because I promised facts and figures, by the way, this is the 11th Zero Waste Festival, so just well done to the team on also that. Between the festivals, I had also kind of the feeling that we need to encourage people more just to chat and rant about zero waste in Dublin. So we also organize meetups. It's every Monday of the month. We are meeting in Doyles. Everybody is welcome. You can find information on Meetup. I also organize zero waste pop-up events because the festivals are a great opportunity, but as we know, it's a lot of preparation and it can take a lot of time, so we do more like evening events. So, coming closer, how I'm still standing on this stage. Early, I had to realize that zero waste is also a scary term for most of the people because zero waste is like impossible. It's just for the crazy hippies, like nobody is able to do that. But recycling is something more tangible, something what people can relate. Yeah, we have to recycle all those plastic what we have. So I heard about this movement. It's called Precious Plastic. It's a global movement. It's not my mastermind creation, it's existing, but there was no one setting up in Ireland. So I was like angry, like somebody should do that, and then after shortly I realized I could be the someone. So I just called some people, I set up a Facebook site on Meetup, and soon I had an amazing team. So that's like a plastic recycling, but I will talk more about that. And what also Brian mentioned, I'm in the great position. I'm also a researcher at UCD. I changed my research field from the hands-on things on the field, and now I'm working on statistics. It's a collaboration with Trinity, and it's funded by the EPA. The project is called Rewrapped. It's focusing on more the statistic side, how we are collecting data on packaging, plastic packaging, generation, and recycling. I would like to mention that EPA is funding the project, and most of the things what I'm going to present, I learned during my working hours, but all what I'm saying here is my own personal opinion, so EPA, don't blame them, okay? It's all on me. So just the overview, I also like to have overview of the presentation, what you can expect, because it's something boring, you can just leave. So first, I would like to talk about the whole situation, Plastic Atlas. I named like this, or I stole the name because it's an amazing publication. I will show just in a minute, which comprehensive study on all the research what recently made, and they published in 2019. So I will talk about plastic production, disposal, the different type of plastic, the lifetime of the different plastic, and also the usage. Packaging, because that's my research field, I will talk more about like why actually packaging is important, what is actually packaging, because we are also not 100% sure about it, what kind of source of packaging we can have, and how to measure, like the difficulties of measure and compare the numbers. And of course, I will talk about the precious plastic movement. It's called now the Precious Plastic Universe. I will talk about the community and also our project. So, as I mentioned, there is this amazing publication. It's by a German organization. They called Heinrich Stiftung, and they came out, at first it was in German, and now they translated in English. It's available on their website. It's amazing. If you want to get scared, just read it. I did not take any information about, the health effect and litterings, but if you want to go deeper and, freak yourself out. So, I have still some scary stuff. So what is the biggest problem is basically the production of plastic. It's like crazy how much plastic we produced in the last, just couple of years, and it's just increasing. And that fact that more than half of the plastics what was produced, it was, just since 2000. It's just crazy to think about it. And you can see the curve, where's the pointer? What you can see. Like, it's just increasing. That's the forecast. It's just crazy. There was one study who made they made the calculation that was by Kayer and his team, and they made a calculation for the primary production in 2015, and then after they extrapolated for 2017, and it was 10,000 tons more. It's just 10,000 metric tons. It's like metric tons. It's just crazy. So what's our big problem? That a giant amount of plastic has been produced. There's still some in stock, of course, because we are still using plastic. There is still plastic that has been produced, and we are still sitting on it, or different kind of things. Certain amount was recycled. It's also interesting to see like how much was once recycled, and the secondary recycling. It's not that much, and most of them was discarded. Some of them were incinerated, but it's a little bit more tech graph, so I just collected for you to sink it in. 1/3 of the plastic what was ever produced is still in use. It's a good number. But what does it mean for us? That 2/3 it's already discarded, it's waste. What's happening with that plastic? 9% only got recycled. 12% was incinerated, and 79 accumulated. What does it mean, accumulation? Landfills. That's all right. But also in our nature, it's just scary figures. At least it freaks me out. But what is plastic? What we know about plastic? I assume if you are here, you are familiar a little bit of plastic, or you're also scared of plastic, and you did some research on it. So there are 7 signs of plastic, right? We know well for the polyethylene terephthalate, that's the PET bottle. We all know well. That's 9% of the production in 2015 in the EU. HDPE, it's 14%. HDPE, it's the bottle caps, but there are also different kind of like construction material, which is good because they are long-lasting. Polyvinyl chloride, there are different kind of application. The shower curtains made of usually different kind of pipes, electrical cables. It's 10% of the whole, 17%. It's a low-density polyethylene. So if you check, that's the high density and polyethylene. So those are a similar material, but they are using for different application. It's more like the flimsy bags, so the plastic bags and different kind of like smaller coatings. The polypropylene, most of the food packaging, DVD cases. Polystyrene, really not good plastic, really hard to recycle or barely non-recyclable. And then after we have this giant group, 7. Basically, there are over 10,000 different types of plastic, and we are naming 6, and all the rest, it's others. How we can do any recycling if we don't even know what they are, or what was also really shocking for me when I realized that also all the bioplastic is considered 7. It's just crazy, like how, like people see the 7 and they assume that, oh, it's recyclable, they put in the recycling bins, but it's a bioplastic and it should not get recycled, kind of things. But from bioplastic, you can go to the next talk. Trevor is going to make a great talk on bioplastic. So just to give you a kind of idea about the different plastic and how complex is the system. That was also something really shocking to me when I started to dig in the world of plastic. There are 2 big types of plastic. So all the plastic, what I was talking before, those are thermoplastic. When you melt the plastic, you can reform them. But there are also a type of plastic called thermoset. When you cannot melt them, so it's just fixed. You cannot recycle them. So all the things like toilet seats and wind turbines and like different kind of home application, you cannot recycle them. Basically, they are different type of plastic, and you cannot melt them. So you can just think about like the bread. So once you have a bread, you cannot put back in the oven; it will just burn. You cannot make bread out of again. But good news. Sorry, other way. 80% of the plastic is thermoplastic. Thermoplastic, which can you remelt and reform. You can think about them like butter if you melt them, and then after, if you solidify it, it's again butter, so nothing goes wrong. So those are the things we can do things with. So like garden furniture, buckets, disposable cutlery, and also different kind of packaging. Another really interesting concept of plastic. Don't take me like I hate plastic. Plastic is not bad, as we know about the whole exhibition. Plastic has so many good applications, but it's also we have to think about the lifetime of the plastic. Construction plastic is really great. The lifespan is quite long, but then after, if you go further down on the line, okay, yeah, industrial machinery, transport is great. We have to move from A to B, so it's really great. Plastic made transportation so much easier. Electronical application, yeah, we also rely on our smartphones, is really great. But then after, if you go down and down, especially with fast fashion, with throwing away everything so quickly, also with consumer products, and look at packaging. The lifespan of packaging is around half a year. It's like basically nothing. And then after, if you go by sector, and you try to combine the 2 things. So that's by sector. That's for, again, the annual use for 2017 by the different sectors. So yeah, industrial machinery, great. Electronics, yeah, quite all right. Cars, we need cars. But then after, if you go down, and so for example, construction, yeah, we have to have building, but they have a long lifetime. We have to have clothes. They last 5 years. Do we use our clothes for 5 years? I don't know. It's also kind of interesting point. And then after the consumer products, but just look at again, like how much packaging is there. 40% of the annual production is packaging, and the lifetime is just half a year. So again, just iterate my points why my research is on packaging, or why is it important? Because it's single use. We just take it, we just use it, we just throw it away. It has really a short lifetime. And if you think about like the continuous consumption, what our society dictates, it comes also with continuous consumption of packaging, especially now that you can order so easily things from online. It's just, it comes in packaging, everything comes in packaging, fancy, fancy packaging. So, yeah, shocking thing about Ireland when I moved here. Ireland is leading in plastic packaging waste generation, but in that case, leading is not that great leading. By the European Statistical Institute, we have the highest packaging generation in the EU, alongside with Estonia. It's scary, but what is scary that I will tell you that maybe our numbers are right, and maybe other countries, they don't account for things. But again, it's just still stimulation. I'm beginning at the research. So what is actually packaging? There are different kind of ways to measure the packaging waste generation in different member states. So I don't want to name and shame, and I'm not that far in the research, just to give some ideas how complicated is the system. So what is packaging? Packaging is basically just a container, or it's also with a lid, or it's also with the labels. Are we considering only just the sales packaging, what we see, what the primary packaging, what you buy? But they're also like group packaging, because when you take something out of the big card box, or it can be unfortunately also plastic. But then we also have to transport so the packaging, what we see as a consumer, it's not all the packaging. Source of packaging. Yeah, we are the consumers, the household, but then after there are also schools, institutes, offices, so many things. Do we consider, every packaging or just the household? It's again changing by different member states and how they take. Also, some member states, they don't take into account the industrial waste. Also, really interesting point, like where actually you measure the packaging. There are two big ways. I don't want to go into the details and bore you. So, one could be how much packaging we are placing on the market, how much gets actually put on the market. It's from the different kind of companies, like Coca-Cola, they give their number. We put X amount of packaging, that and that here. But there's also another way, that they are looking at the waste side, like how much actually waste is generated. And that's so different. So when you're looking at the end side, what they are doing, that they are taking a large amount of waste, they're taking apart, they're checking how much is actually packaging and how much is actually plastic packaging. And they have a kind of like a number for that. Like from 10 tons of packaging, X amount of from 10 tons of waste, that amount of his packaging, and after they extrapolate for the final number. But those can be also really different, because at the end life there's also different kind of like contamination and also different things. So I don't say that the Irish number are wrong or good. I'm still doing my investigation. I will come back to you. But what is really important, I think, to keep in mind, that 2/3 of the plastic packaging is not on the current recycling list. So no soft plastic, you can go on the mywaste.ie and you can learn more about it. It's also a kind of scary fact that 2/3 of the plastic packaging which is on the market cannot be recycled. The current plastic packaging recycling rate is 34%, which in the European scale is not that bad, but by 2030 we have to reach 55%. So that's something really, really challenging. So what I wanted to just conclude with that we're using a lot of packaging. Maybe we don't use more or less than other member states, but maybe it doesn't matter. We have to focus on our local system and try to make something. So what we can do? It's not a silver bullet. There's no one solution. There's so many things what we can do as citizens. So I'm going to present just one solution. It's called the precious plastic universe. Dave Hawkins, he's from the Netherlands. He came up with the whole idea of the precious plastic community. He came up with open sourcely available machines that you can build in your own community, and you can start to recycle plastic. But I would like to give the stage to him, because I think he's the best to talk about, if I can click. Can you have to click on it, because I don't think I can on the video. Thank you.
Plastic bottle.
Plastic waste.
An ocean of plastic trash.
Plastic.
Plastic. Plastic.
Plastic. Plastic.
Plastic. Plastic.
Plastic.
Plastic is, well, it's everywhere.
So I guess by now you are quite aware of this big plastic waste problem. But all of this isn't really waste. With some love and care, the right machines, and with the right techniques, you will see that it's a precious material. This new precious material can be turned into big colorful sheets to make stuff with, a brick to construct walls, small functional objects, or fancy furniture. We, the precious plastic community, develop tools and machines to recycle plastic. And we've been doing that for 6 years, open source for free. And now it's time to take it to the next level. And we all need to work together fighting this massive problem. But how do we start? First, we need you to collect, clean and remove the label of your own plastic waste. And then bring it to a local precious plastic collection point. If you don't have a collection point or recycling community in your area, you can start your own recycling business and grow the community. Starting a business might seem scary, so we created starter kits. The starter kits are a package of information with everything you need to start your own small workspace. We created different packages for different workspaces. You can, for example, start a sheet press workspace, or shred plastic into small flakes in a shredder workspace, or build machines and sell them to others. And they all work together on a local scale and are globally connected, sharing knowledge. And we call this the precious plastic universe. So if you're an entrepreneur, you can start your own business. And if you're not into business, share it around with your neighborhood. Some of them might want to start a local recycle network. Visit preciosplastic.com for more information.
So yeah, I came across, not this video, is a recent video, an earlier video of him, and I was just blown. It's just amazing. So as he was mentioning, Dave was mentioning, there's a worldwide global scale community. So yeah, there was no one from Ireland, from Dublin, and yeah, earlier last year I was thinking that somebody should do it, so I was the someone. So now we have over 30 volunteers, 35, I don't know. We are open to the public. We are organizing we are organizing general meetings every second Wednesday evenings at Trinity College. Everybody is welcome. We started one big project campaign now. We started to collect HDP bottle caps. You can find everything on our website also, and please follow us on social media, like and share, typical things. So we started to collect the HDP bottle cups because we have to focus on one type of plastic, because it's really important at the beginning that we doing whatever we are doing right, and we just want to focus on one type. We decided for the bottle caps because if you look around Dublin, there's so much littering. So we actually also take whatever you find on the street and you start to collect for us. So the main point, we just asked the general public to put different collection points for us at school, at your work. And we invite the people who collect it to join our meetings because we want to grow. But if you cannot make it to our regular meetings, of course, we can organize some drop-offs and you can meet one of our volunteers. If you want to hear more about, there's also a stand just at the market space in the corner with our lovely volunteers. So what we want to do, I was talking about the bottle cups, right? I can make this flower so black. So what we want to do, that we have the bottle caps, but the people like you can just collect for us. And then after we have access to a shredder, we will shred the plastic to tiny pieces. like this. And then after, we want to make long-lasting product from the waste. That's a kind of fruit bowl. It was made by another precious plastic workshop in Ukraine. So I think it's amazing. I can pass around so people can have a look. So that's the vision. It's not a big scale of recycling, but I think, so our aim is to have as kind of like an educational thing to make people aware that we can do something. So we started small, but we try to invite everyone to join us. You don't have to have the machines, you don't have to have any fancy things. You can just start a collection point us if you have a space, or to have a community group space where people can come together. If you have any machine skills, you're more than welcome. Our machine team would be happy to have more people on board, because we also want to build our own machines. So far we had 1 machine, but we are just borrowing that for a year, and we would like to build our own machines and be able to recycle. And there are different machines. There's a shredder, which is shredding to the plastics to smaller pieces. If you could see in the video, there is a new machine. It's a sheet press. You can also do different kind of construction things. We are still on a smaller scale what we are doing. So I'm coming shortly on end to my talk. What I wanted to also say here, that please don't go home after this talk that, oh, Precious Plastic Dublin is going to take care of the plastic. No, I can recycle. I just want to have that as a take-home message, that imagine just a situation, you enter your kitchen, it's flooded with water. What are you going to do? Are you starting to mop? Or you just go and to turn off the tap? So I'm still trying to set up a recycling kind of facility, but as it's a zero waste festival, we should refuse first and to try to reduce as much as we can. So that was me, and I'm open for questions. No questions? There should be a mic, sorry.
Sorry. Thank you. Is it Celia?
Yeah.
Hey, Celia. Can you tell us the full name of your PhD and what the overall intention is? I know you might have, we might have missed the beginning of that. Yeah.
So the PhD.
Yes. Yes.
So my PhD was on greenhouse gas emission greenhouse gas emission from wastewater treatment systems. So what I'm working on is not my PhD. So it's a postdoc project, and it's understanding why Ireland is leading in the plastic packaging generation, and to understand how different member states are measuring their waste. Yes.
Hi, Celia.
Hi.
I'm just wondering, they want the recycling companies want the hard plastics from us, from the home, like the milk bottles. They find that of value. But all the soft plastics need to go into the bin. Do you see anything in the future for the soft plastics, or do they just need to be eliminated?
I know there are ongoing research to try to make a good way to recycle soft plastic, but if you think about soft plastic, the big issue is so light, and it's so energy consuming, and it's really hard to separate them because they are tangled around the separating machine. So I'm really optimistic, and I hope people will realize more and more that we have to deal with overall plastic problem, and they will start to recycle also. There will be facility, but I think we still have a big job with the hard plastic as well to set up. And there also, so I believe that also I'm trying to reduce my soft plastic consumption as much as I can, and I also try to reuse whatever I have as much. But yeah, of course there is a kind of limit how much you can do. Nothing? No more?
Hi there, your talk was very interesting. I'm a teacher working in a school and really trying to encourage students to not use single-use plastic, but it's a real battle. A new water bottle has kind of been developed. I don't know who runs the brand. It's kind of more cardboard. Could we be moving to that, do you think? Is that possible?
For me, that's again my personal opinion after whatever I was reading, that composite materials are even more difficult to take apart. So I think it's so much easier to recycle a single PET, so one type of polymer water bottle than a composite material, because as soon as it's composite, I guess you're talking about like paper, plastic, and that's even more energy consuming to try to separate that. Have you tried to make like water fountains set up in the school? I think that's always a good start, to just make the facility that people can see that they can refill. Yeah, it's coming in a sec.
I think all these initiatives are very good, but I lived in Sao Paulo in Brazil for a while, and what they do is that with these initiatives, they try to get homeless people or people who are unemployed or low rent. I mean, my question to you is that all of us obviously are here today, but there are people, for example, who need a sort of income. Would you consider to maybe work with any homeless organizations? And the whole thing, I think, is that obviously it's good for the environment, but I suppose a lot of people, for example, in Sao Paulo, they recycle plastic or they collect anything and then they resell it. So would you consider to do anything for the other people who are in a less privileged situation that we are right now? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's a really good point. As we are now, as Precious Plastic Dublin, we decided to focus on more the educational and just the proof of concept that it's working, but we are really looking for entrepreneurs who take up on the idea, because if you just see that fruit bowl, it looks really nice and you can sell on the market, and if you get involved people with less fortunate background that you can just create jobs, definitely it's possible. So with the Precious Plastic movement, they are doing that in developing countries. I know that they set up one in Malaysia, in Tanzania, so it's really great. Yeah, next steps.
Any more questions?
I keep thinking about the soft plastic thing, and I've seen that Key Waste advertises that they can also recycle soft plastic, while Abbey Waste doesn't, and like there is this difference also within the same city of Dublin, which makes a confusion. But then I heard that is an issue to recycle soft plastic itself. So then I ask myself, how effective is this recycling system in Ireland? Because I also have sometimes the feeling that even if I'm trying to separate as efficiently as possible, I don't know what's going to happen actually afterwards. So how much the effort is being used for something useful or not. Are there any stats about that?
Not in the details. So just to go back, I try to keep positive all the time, so I don't want to blame the recycling companies. I believe that they are trying to do their best, but their main aim is to make profit. And they have to sell the plastic, and soft plastic is not that valuable. I know that soft plastic, they're waste to recycle, but as soon as it's contaminated, it makes it more difficult. So I know that the kind of film which around when you transporting the goods, their companies, they're collecting that because it's clean and they can just easily recycle. But for the second question, I think we need to do as good segregated separation as citizens as we can, and we have to do as clean as possible, because in that case we make the value of the plastic higher for the company to sell. And in that case, if they see that the consumers or the citizens engaging, that maybe they will also, do more. There are also some statistics and also news articles like how bad the system. I don't want to go in that. I have faith, and this is not about replacing the existing system. It's more like keeping the value of the plastic waste what we have in the community, and try to educate people that they can value things a little bit more. So.
It's all on my side.
Do you have any plan to bring this initiative to companies?
I don't have personally, but if you have a company who would be interested and you want to join us, that would be cool.
I mean, there is a lot of tech companies that right now they are more in concept of bringing back to the community. Google, Facebook starting now. So it's all about as well as a collection point for people to bring all the tabs there and from there and bring it to you, etc., etc. It's all about more.
So we
facilitating.
we invite everyone to join us and to start to collect for us. We did kind of like, you know, a group vision, like what we want to reach, and our 5 years plan was in this kind of vision that everybody, so like every Lidl or like every, you know, like supermarket in Dublin should have one of these set of systems, and that would be so cool. But yeah, I mean, what I was saying, that as Precious Plastic Dublin, we try to be more like educational, try to just encourage people to think about more. But yeah, I really hope that it will kick off and more companies will also be involved. Yeah. There's one question there. They are bringing the mic.
Is Ireland good at recycling plastic?
Sorry?
Is Ireland good at recycling plastic?
I compare with who? Yeah, I think what is really important to keep in mind that we all should be better. I think Ireland is also trying to make as good as they can. There are EU targets what every member state has to reach. So we are, with recycling, we are quite leading in the EU, so with the plastic recycling. So we have to just keep recycling our plastic. So I don't want to say it's bad or good, you know, we have to do our best.
Okay, if that's all the questions, I'd like to give a big bullabus to Celia. Our next talk is starting at 2 o'clock, at 3 o'clock. Sorry, I haven't eaten yet.